My mom pushes the silver box across the table without opening it, right there, in front of 40 guests at her own anniversary party, and calls me a freeloader who can't survive on my own. My dad stands up, looks me dead in the eye, and says, "We don't need your cheap gift, Bethany. Take it and get out." My brother Tyler leans back in his chair and laughs. Nobody at that table knows what's inside the box. Nobody knows that the cheap gift they just rejected is the highest honor a teacher can receive in this country. And nobody, not my mom, not my dad, not Tyler, has any idea how much that one moment is about to cost them. My name is Bethany. I'm 34 years old. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Now, let me take you back to 3 weeks before my parents' anniversary, the day I got a phone call that changed everything. I'm grading sophomore essays on a Thursday afternoon when my phone rings. The caller ID reads Ohio Department of Education. I almost let it go to voicemail. I figure it's another survey or funding update. But something makes me pick up. Ms. Lowe, this is Patricia Redmond from the Milken Family Foundation, calling in coordination with the State Superintendent's Office. I'm pleased to inform you that you've been selected as this year's Milken Educator Award recipient for the state of Ohio. I set my red pen down. I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? She repeats it. The Milken Educator Award, $25,000, a ceremony at the State House, a feature in the regional press. They call it the Oscars of teaching, and she's telling me I won. I don't scream. I don't cry. I just sit there in my empty classroom, staring at the poster of Maya Angelou above the whiteboard, and I think, maybe now they'll see. I call Marcus first. My husband hollers so loud I have to pull the phone from my ear. "Beth, I knew it! I knew it, baby!" I can hear the guys at the firehouse cheering behind him. When I call my colleague Diane in the English department, she bursts into tears. Everyone I tell reacts the same way. Shock, then pride, then joy. Everyone except the 2 people I haven't told yet. My parents' 35th wedding anniversary is in 3 weeks. Mom's been planning the party for months. And I genuinely think, that if I put the certificate in a gift box and hand it to them in front of their friends, they'll finally understand. They'll finally look at me and see something worth being proud of. I wrap the framed certificate in tissue paper, I tuck the newspaper clipping beside it, and I write them a letter. I don't know yet that my mother won't even want to open the lid. The thing is, I should have expected it. I've had 11 years of warnings. Last Christmas, I drove 2 hours through a snowstorm to my parents' house in Ridgemont. Marcus was on shift, so I came alone, carrying an album I'd spent 3 months assembling. Every family photo I could find, organized by decade, bound in leather I'd saved up to buy. Mom unwrapped it, flipped through 2 pages, and set it on the coffee table. "That's sweet, Bethany." Then she turned to Tyler. "Show them what you got us, honey." Tyler, my older brother, 38, the golden child, stood up with that grin he reserves for audiences. "Booked you and Dad a Caribbean cruise, 7 nights, leaves in February." The room erupted. Dad pulled Tyler into a bear hug. Mom wiped happy tears. Aunt Jeanine took pictures. My album sat untouched between a bowl of cashews and a stack of napkins. Later, while I was loading the dishwasher, Dad wandered in and leaned against the counter. He didn't look at me directly. He rarely does. "You know, Bethany, when Tyler was your age, he'd already closed his first $1 million deal." A pause. "When are you going to get a real career?" I scrubbed a casserole dish so hard the sponge tore. Under the table that night, Marcus, who'd arrived after his shift ended, squeezed my hand. "We don't need their approval, Beth." He was right. I knew he was right. But knowing something and feeling it are 2 different languages, and I've spent my whole life trying to translate between them. That Christmas was the first time I drove home and didn't cry. I just stared at the highway and thought, one more chance. I'll give them one more chance. 3 weeks before the anniversary, Mom calls. I'm chopping onions for dinner, and I almost don't answer. Her timing is always flawless when my hands are busy. "Bethany, the party is Saturday the 14th, 4 o'clock, backyard. Your father and I expect you and Marcus." "We'll be there, Mom." "Good." She pauses, and I can hear her choosing her words. "Wear something nice, not those teacher clothes. You know, the cardigans and flats. It's a celebration. I set the knife down. My clothes are fine. And please, don't talk about school the whole time. Nobody wants to hear about lesson plans and test scores. Tyler is going to make a big announcement, and I don't want anything to distract from that. Tyler's big announcement. Of course, everything orbits Tyler. What announcement? You'll see. Just be supportive, and maybe bring a nice bottle of wine instead of, well, whatever you were planning. I look at the silver box on the dining table. The one with the framed certificate, the newspaper article, and the handwritten letter inside. The paper I'd chosen is silver, because silver is the traditional color for a 35th anniversary. I'd looked it up. I already have a gift, Mom, she sighs, the kind of sigh that says I'm exhausting her just by existing. Fine, just don't make it weird. After we hang up, Marcus finds me standing at the counter, staring at my phone. You okay? She told me not to talk about my job, at their party, in front of everyone. He wraps his arms around me from behind. We don't have to go. I almost say yes. I almost stay home and let them have their perfect Tyler show. But something in me, maybe stubbornness, maybe the last scrap of hope, says, go. The following Tuesday, Marcus comes home from his shift smelling like smoke and looking like he's been chewing on something all day. I heard something, he says, pulling off his boots in the garage. You know Danny Ferraro, works at the firehouse? His brother's a contractor? Yeah. Danny says Tyler's Ridgewood Commons project is in trouble. Subcontractors walking off, permits delayed, the numbers aren't adding up. I sit on the dryer and pull my knees up. How bad? Bad enough that Danny's brother pulled his crew last month and hasn't been paid. I think about last Christmas. Tyler grinning, Dad bear hugging him, the cruise, the $1 million deals. And I think about the one thing I know for certain that my parents don't talk about. They gave Tyler $180,000 from their retirement savings, their entire nest egg. Dad told me over the phone 2 years ago, almost casually, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Tyler needs startup capital. He'll pay it back tenfold. $180,000, my parents' only safety net, sitting in a development project that can't keep its contractors. Marcus reads my face. Beth, if you stay quiet, they'll keep pouring money into him, and when the whole thing goes down, they'll look around for someone to blame. Guess who that'll be? The daughter who didn't warn them. The daughter who was never allowed to speak. I stare at the ceiling. The dryer hums beneath me. If I say nothing, I lose my dignity. If I speak up, I lose whatever's left of my family. But the question I keep circling back to is simpler than either of those. Did I ever really have them? The night before the party, I sit at the kitchen table with the silver box open in front of me. Marcus is reading in the living room, giving me space the way he always does when he knows I'm processing. I check each item one more time. The framed Milken Educator Award certificate, heavy cream paper, gold seal, my full name in calligraphy. The newspaper clipping from the Ridgemont Gazette, local teacher named among state's best, $25,000 prize. And the letter. I unfold it and read what I wrote. Dear Mom and Dad, I became a teacher because you taught me that helping people matters. Every day, I walk into a classroom of 30 kids who need someone to believe in them. That's what I do. And now the state of Ohio has recognized that work. I hope you're proud. Love, Bethany. My hand shakes a little as I refold it. Not from nerves, from hope. Stupid, stubborn hope that keeps growing back no matter how many times it gets cut. I tuck the letter beneath the frame, lay the newspaper clipping on top, and close the lid. The silver wrapping paper catches the kitchen light, and for a second it looks almost elegant, like something worthy. Marcus appears in the doorway. All set? All set. He walks over, kisses my forehead. Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm proud of you. Not because of the award, because of who you are every single day. I press my palm against his chest and hold it there for a moment. His heartbeat is steady. Mine isn't. Good night, I say. Good night, Beth. I turn off the kitchen light and leave the box on the table. Tomorrow, my parents will see what's inside. Tomorrow, everything changes. I just don't know how much. We pull up to my parents' house at 4:10. The street is already lined with cars, Buicks and Toyotas and the occasional pickup truck, the fleet of a small-town social circle that hasn't changed in 2 decades. The backyard is strung with white lights, even though it's still daylight. There's a long table draped in white linen, a banner that reads, Happy 35th stretched across the fence, and somewhere a speaker is playing Frank Sinatra at a volume that suggests Dad picked the playlist. About 40 people mill around the yard, neighbors from Birch Lane, friends from First Presbyterian, a few of Dad's old colleagues from the bank. It's the kind of crowd that knows everyone's business and pretends not to. Mom spots Tyler first. Of course she does. Tyler, Kristen, oh, look at the kids. They've gotten so big. She wraps her arms around my brother like he's returning from war. Kristen gets the full double-cheek kiss. Their 2 boys get showered with compliments. When I step through the gate with Marcus, Mom glances over. Oh, you came. That's it. No hug. No glad you're here. Just, oh, you came. Dad shakes Marcus's hand with one of those half-grip handshakes that says, I acknowledge your existence but not much else. He doesn't look at me at all. I scan the crowd and spot a face that surprises me. Helen Novak, seated at what appears to be the VIP table near the rose bushes. Helen is 67, retired superintendent of the county school district, and a woman whose handshake can make or break a career in education around here. She catches my eye and gives me a warm wave. I wave back. Then I tuck the silver box under my arm and find a seat at the far end of the table. Tyler finds me before the appetizers are cleared. He's wearing a blue sport coat that probably costs more than my monthly car payment, and he's got a glass of bourbon in each hand, one for himself, one for show. So, sis, he says it loud enough for the Hendersons at the next table to hear. Still grading papers for a living? I look up from my plate. Still building things that fall behind schedule? His smile tightens. Just barely. If you didn't know Tyler, you'd miss it. But I've been reading that smile for 34 years. He leans in closer, drops his voice. Listen, Mom and Dad are in a good mood tonight. Don't ruin it. Ruin what? Just don't make a scene. Let it be about them for once. I almost laugh. Let it be about them. As if Tyler has ever let a family event be about anyone other than Tyler. Kristen materializes at his elbow like a well-trained understudy. Beth, you look nice. Hey, you should try real estate sometime. Tyler could use an assistant. She giggles. It's the kind of laugh designed to sound like a joke while landing like a slap. Marcus shifts beside me. I feel his hand press against my lower back. Steady, warm, a silent reminder that I'm not alone in this yard full of people who have known my parents longer than they've known me. I pick up my water glass. I teach, Kristen. It's not glamorous, but every kid I've taught can think for themselves. I take a sip. Can your investors say the same? Tyler's jaw flexes. He straightens up, adjusts his jacket, and walks away without another word. Kristen hurries after him. Marcus leans in. That was surgical. I've had practice. But under the table, my hand grips the seat of my chair. After the main course, brisket and roasted potatoes, Mom's signature. Tyler stands up. Someone hands him the karaoke microphone from the patio speaker setup, and he holds it like a man who's been practicing in the mirror. If I could have everyone's attention. His voice carries across the yard, smooth and rehearsed. First, I want to toast the 2 best parents a son could ask for. 35 years of marriage. That's no small thing. Polite applause. Dad nods, pleased. Mom dabs her eyes with a cocktail napkin. And I have some exciting news to share. Tyler straightens his jacket. I've just signed on to develop a brand new residential community right here in the county, the Ridgewood Estates. 50 homes, premium construction, and I'm proud to say that Mom and Dad are my founding investors. More applause. Louder this time. Dad's chest puffs up like he just landed the deal himself. Mom clasps her hands together and beams at the crowd. I feel the blood drain from my face. He just announced their investment. In front of 40 people. In front of their neighbors and church friends. He's locked them in. If they ever want to pull out, every person in this yard will know. And Gerald Lowe would rather eat glass than admit a bad investment in public. Marcus leans into my ear. Did he just publicly lock them in? I nod. Tyler didn't toast their marriage. He pitched them a business deal in front of their friends, dressed it up in a bow, and called it a celebration. And now my parents are smiling for the cameras, co-signing their future to a man who can't keep his subcontractors on site. I look down at the silver box beneath my chair. My hands are steady, but inside, something is shifting, clicking into place like a lock finding its key. During dessert, a 3-tier cake that reads Gerald and Pamela forever, I step away from the table to refill my water. Helen Novak intercepts me at the drink station. Bethany Lowe. She says my name like it means something. I saw your feature in the county education bulletin last week, and I want to say, congratulations. You deserve every bit of it. I blink. You know about the Milken? Helen tilts her head, almost amused. Sweetheart, the entire education community knows. An award like that doesn't happen quietly. I've been in this field for 30 years, and I can count on one hand the teachers from this county who've received that kind of recognition. She looks over my shoulder toward the main table, where Mom is refilling Tyler's wine glass. Your parents must be thrilled. I don't answer. I don't have to. Something in my face tells her everything. Helen sets her glass down. She studies me for a moment, the way a superintendent studies a problem she's decided to solve, then speaks quietly. The Milken Educator Award is the highest honor a teacher can receive in this country. You earned it. She pauses. Don't let anyone make you feel small tonight. Thank you, Helen. She squeezes my arm and walks back to her table. I watch her go. This woman who spent 3 decades running the county's schools, who's now on the planning commission, who gets invited to every event in town because her opinion still carries weight. She knows what's in my box. She knows what I've accomplished. And she's watching. I refill my glass, walk back to my seat, and slide the silver box a little closer to my feet. The sun is starting to set behind the fence. The string lights are beginning to glow. It's almost time. I excuse myself to use the bathroom, but really I just need 60 seconds where no one is looking at me like I'm an inconvenience. I cut through the side yard, past Mom's hydrangeas, and that's when I hear Tyler's voice, low, tight, nothing like the confident toast he just delivered. I know the numbers don't work yet. He's pacing by the garden shed, phone pressed to his ear. Just give me 2 more months. I'll get the zoning through. The investors are committed. I just locked in my parents tonight. He turns and sees me. His face drops, not with guilt, but with fury, the kind that comes from being caught. Were you listening? I was walking to the bathroom. Mind your own business, Bethany. I hold up both hands. I'm minding it. And I walk past him toward the house. But I heard what I heard. The numbers don't work. The zoning isn't through. And he just stood in front of 40 people and announced my parents' investment like it was a done deal. Their retirement, their only safety net. His voice on that phone wasn't the voice of a man closing $1-million deals. It was the voice of someone drowning and pulling others under to stay afloat. When I get back to the table, Marcus reads me immediately. What happened? Tyler's project is worse than Danny said. I just heard him begging his lender for more time. Marcus exhales through his nose. Beth. I know. We sit in silence for a moment while the party swirls around us. Laughter, clinking glasses, Frank Sinatra crooning about the way you look tonight. Everyone is celebrating. And I'm holding a box full of proof that I'm not who my parents think I am, while my brother sinks their retirement into sand. Something has to give. And I think it's going to be tonight. Okay, so at this point, I'm standing in my parents' backyard, holding a box they don't know exists, having just overheard my brother beg his lender for more time on a project that's swallowing my parents' retirement. And I'm wondering, should I say something? Should I warn them that their $180,000 might be gone? Or should I walk away and let the whole thing collapse on its own? I genuinely want to know what you would do. Drop it in the comments. Would you speak up or keep your mouth shut? And if this story has you watching this far, hit that subscribe button, because it's about to get a lot worse. The cake has been cut, the toasts have been made, all of them by Tyler, all of them about Tyler. Mom and Dad are seated at the head of the table, glowing under the string lights like 2 people who believe every good thing their golden son has ever told them. I look at Marcus. He gives me a single nod. I stand up. A few heads turn. Not many. I'm at the far end of the table after all. The end where the quiet daughter sits. Mom. Dad. My voice is calm, and it carries further than I expect. More heads turn. 35 years is extraordinary. Not many people make it that far, and I think that's worth honoring. The table settles. Even Tyler looks over, still holding his bourbon. I brought you something. I bend down, pick up the silver box from under my chair, and walk it to the head of the table. Every step feels longer than it should. The grass is soft under my flats, the teacher flats Mom told me not to wear. I place the box gently in front of my mother. The wrapping catches the string lights. Silver for 35 years. I looked it up. Happy anniversary! Mom looks at the box, then she looks at Tyler. It's a quick glance, a fraction of a second, but I catch it. She's checking with him, asking permission, or maybe asking for direction. Tyler gives the smallest shake of his head, almost imperceptible. Mom looks back at the box. My hands aren't shaking. For once, they aren't shaking. 40 people are watching. The Hendersons, the Petersons, Helen Novak, the couple from First Presbyterian, the retired bank colleagues, everyone my parents have ever wanted to impress. Mom reaches for the ribbon, then stops. And the string lights hum above us like a held breath. Mom doesn't open the box. She pushes it, not dramatically, not with force, just slides it about 6 inches to her left, the way you'd move a dish you didn't order. Oh, Bethany. She smiles, but it's the smile she uses when she's managing a situation. You shouldn't have, literally. A few people chuckle. Nervous, unsure. The kind of laughter that fills silence when nobody knows what's happening. Then she turns to the crowd, not to me, to them, and raises her voice. I'm sorry, everyone. You know how it is. Some children leave the nest and fly. Others, she gestures vaguely in my direction. Others just can't seem to make it on their own. The chuckling dies. Mrs. Henderson puts her fork down. Mr. Peterson looks at his wife. Mom isn't finished. She turns back to me now, and her voice is louder than it needs to be. Bethany, I don't know how you afforded this on a teacher's salary. Or did Marcus pay for it? She tilts her head. Sweetie, a real gift requires real money, and real money requires a real job. The word lands like a brick through a window. Freeloader. She doesn't say it yet, not the exact word, but every syllable points there. I feel Marcus stiffen beside me. His hand moves to the back of my chair, gripping it hard enough that I hear the wood creak. I put my hand on his, slight shake of my head. Not yet. Helen Novak, 3 seats away, sets her wineglass down slowly, deliberately, the way you set something down when you're clearing the deck for what comes next. My mother just called me a failure in front of every person she's ever wanted to impress, and she isn't done, neither am I. Dad stands up. When Gerald Lowe stands up, people pay attention. He's 6'2", broad-shouldered, and he spent 30 years managing a regional bank branch with the posture of a man who's never been wrong about anything. Your mother's right. His voice is flat, matter of fact, like he's declining a loan application. We don't need your cheap gift, Bethany. Take it and get out. The yard goes still. Even Frank Sinatra sounds quieter, like the speaker knows better. Tyler steps forward, hands in his pockets, casual as a Sunday drive. Maybe you should just focus on finding a career that actually pays, sis. Kristen laughs behind him, a sharp, performative sound that rings across the silent yard. 40 pairs of eyes land on me. I can feel them, the weight of every gaze, every held breath, every person calculating whether to intervene or look away. Mrs. Henderson covers her mouth. The couple from First Presbyterian exchange a glance. Helen Novak's jaw tightens. I stand there for 3 seconds. 1. I look at my father. 2. I look at my mother. 3. I look at the silver box, still sitting where she pushed it. And then something happens that none of them expect. I laugh. Not bitterly, not sarcastically. I laugh the way you laugh when a puzzle you've been working on for 34 years finally clicks into place. When the picture becomes so clear that the only reasonable response is to stop pretending you can't see it. I reach across the table and pick up the box. You know what? You're right. I turn the box in my hands. You don't deserve this gift. I lift the lid. But since you wouldn't look, let me show everyone else. I pull back the tissue paper and lift out the framed certificate. The gold seal glints under the string lights. I turn it so the table can see. Milken Educator Award, Bethany Lowe. I set it on the white tablecloth, right next to the anniversary cake. The gold seal sits there like a second sun, catching every eye at the table. Nobody speaks. I reach into the box again and pull out the newspaper clipping. I unfold it and lay it flat beside the frame. The headline is visible even from the far end. Local teacher named among state's best, $25,000 prize. A murmur begins. Low, confused, gathering speed. Mrs. Henderson leans forward, reading the headline. Mr. Peterson takes off his glasses, puts them back on, reads it again. The couple from First Presbyterian whisper to each other. Helen Novak nods. A slow, quiet nod, the kind that says I already knew. Tyler's bourbon hand drops to his side. Kristen's smile evaporates. Mom stares at the certificate like it's written in a language she doesn't understand. Her mouth opens, closes, opens again. Nothing comes out. Dad hasn't moved. He's still standing, 6'2", broad-shouldered, but something has shifted in his posture, a slight hunch, a fraction of an inch, the kind of collapse that starts from the inside. The Milken Educator Award, I say, and my voice is steady. It's given to fewer than 1% of teachers in the country. It comes with $25,000 and a ceremony at the State House. I pause. I was going to let you open it yourselves. I thought you might want to be the first to know. I look at Mom. But you didn't want to open it. The string lights keep humming. Nobody touches the cake. There's one more thing in the box. I reach in and pull out the letter. I hold it up so everyone can see. A single sheet of cream-colored paper, folded in thirds. My handwriting. Their daughter's handwriting. I wrote this for you. I unfold it. It says, Dear Mom and Dad, I became a teacher because you taught me that helping people matters. Every day I walk into a classroom of 30 kids who need someone to believe in them. That's what I do. And now the state of Ohio has recognized that work. I look up from the page. I hope you're proud. I hold my mother's gaze. She's gripping the edge of the table with both hands, knuckles white, the same way she grips the steering wheel when she's trying not to cry. But I'm past the point of protecting her from the truth. But you're not proud. I fold the letter back along its creases. You've never been proud. You've never once asked me what I do every day, not once in 11 years. I tuck the letter into my jacket pocket. So this stays with me. The silence that follows is the loudest thing I've ever heard. Someone at the far table, I think it's Mrs. Callahan from church, dabs her eyes with a napkin. Mr. Henderson shakes his head, not at me, but at my parents. Gerald opens his mouth. His lips move, but no sound comes out. For the first time in my life, my father, the man who spent 30 years running a bank branch, the man who has never been at a loss for words, has nothing to say. Mom whispers, Bethany, we didn't know. You didn't know because you never asked. Helen Novak stands up. She doesn't rush. She doesn't raise her voice. She pushes her chair back, sets her napkin on the table, and addresses the yard with the calm authority of a woman who spent 3 decades running a school system. If I may. She looks around the table. I spent 30 years in public education. I've overseen hundreds of teachers, thousands of students, and I want everyone here to understand something. She pauses, letting the silence do its work. The Milken Educator Award is the most prestigious recognition a teacher can receive in this country. Fewer than 1 in 1,000 are ever nominated. It is not given lightly, and it is not given to people who aren't exceptional. She turns to my parents. To Gerald, specifically. He's still standing, but he looks smaller than he did 60 seconds ago. Gerald, Pamela, your daughter is one of the finest educators this county has ever produced. I've seen her work firsthand. Her students' scores, her mentorship, her dedication. Helen's voice doesn't waver. I'm not sure you understand what you just did. The crowd turns. Every face, every pair of eyes, rotates toward my parents like compass needles finding north. Mr. Peterson folds his arms. Mrs. Henderson shakes her head openly now, no longer hiding it. The retired bank colleagues, men who've known my father for decades, stare at him with expressions I've never seen directed at Gerald Lowe before. Pity. Tyler clears his throat. He looks like a man who just realized the lifeboat is sinking too. Mom reaches for the certificate on the table, as if touching it now might undo the last 3 minutes. Dad puts his hand on her wrist, stopping her, or steadying himself. I can't tell which. I don't move. I don't need to. The truth is doing all the work. Tyler tries to recover. He's always been good at that, finding the angle, redirecting the conversation, turning the spotlight back to where he wants it. He's had 38 years of practice. An award. He forces a chuckle. That's nice, Beth. Really. But let's be honest. Awards don't pay mortgages. The words hang in the air. A few people look at him. Most look at me. I tilt my head slightly. You're right, Tyler. Awards don't pay mortgages. I pick up my water glass and take a sip. Set it down. But my mortgage is paid. Is yours? The silence that follows isn't the kind that fills with nervous laughter. It's the kind that fills with understanding. A few of the guests, the ones who work in real estate, the ones who've heard the rumors about Ridgewood Commons, exchange looks. Quick, knowing looks. Dad's eyes narrow. He looks at Tyler. What does she mean? Tyler's jaw clenches. Nothing. She's just deflecting. I'm not deflecting. I pick up the framed certificate from the table. I pick up the newspaper clipping. I place them both back in the silver box, carefully, the same way I packed them. I'm leaving. I close the lid. And I'm taking my cheap gift with me. I push my chair in. Marcus stands beside me, steady as a wall. Tyler opens his mouth again, but nothing comes out. For the first time, two low men are speechless in the same yard at the same time. Mom looks between me and Tyler, between the daughter she just called a freeloader and the son she just publicly bankrolled. And I can see it on her face, the first crack in a wall she spent 35 years building. I turn toward the gate. Marcus puts his hand on my back. We walk. I stop at the gate and turn back toward the table. Not toward my parents. Toward the guests. The people who watched. The people who stayed quiet while my mother called me a freeloader and my father told me to get out. Thank you all for coming tonight. 35 years of marriage is worth celebrating. I tuck the silver box under my arm. I wish my parents the best. No anger, no tears, no dramatic exit line. Just a woman holding a box, telling the truth, and walking away. Marcus opens the gate. The hinges creak. A small, ordinary sound in an extraordinary silence. Helen Novak appears at my side before I reach the driveway. She takes my hand and shakes it firmly. The kind of handshake that means something in a town like Ridgemont. I'll call you Monday, she says quietly. I nod. I don't know what Monday holds, but I trust this woman in a way I haven't trusted many people tonight. As I step through the gate, a few other guests catch my eye. The Hendersons, standing near the punch bowl, both give me a small, deliberate nod. The couple from First Presbyterian, the Mulligans, raise their glasses slightly, a private toast no one else notices. And then I hear it. Mom's heels clicking on the patio stones behind me. Bethany, wait! Her voice is pitched higher now, the way it gets when she's losing control of the narrative. You're being dramatic. Come back inside and we'll talk about this like adults. I don't turn around. I don't answer. Marcus opens the car door for me, and I slide in, the silver box on my lap. I didn't slam the door. I closed it gently. Some endings don't need noise. Marcus starts the engine. We pull away from the curb. We drive the first mile in silence. The sun is below the tree line now, and the road out of Ridgemont is that particular shade of blue that only happens in Ohio in late spring. Not quite dark, not quite light, like the sky hasn't decided yet. Marcus doesn't ask if I'm okay. He knows I'm not. He also knows I will be, and that the distance between those two things is something I need to cross on my own. I look down at the silver box on my lap. The wrapping paper is still smooth, not a tear, not a crease. I ran my palm over it to make sure. My phone buzzes. I glance at the screen. Mom. I decline the call. It buzzes again. Mom. I turn the phone face down on my thigh. That'll keep going, Marcus says. I know. He drives. I breathe. The road curves past the old grain elevator, past the elementary school where I did my first student teaching placement. 12 years ago, back when I still thought my parents would come to my classroom and see what I'd built. I take the letter out of my jacket pocket and unfold it. I read it one more time, silently, moving my lips over the words. I hope you're proud. I fold it again, carefully, along the same creases, and I tuck it into the glove compartment. That letter was never really for them, I say. Marcus glances at me. No. It's proof. Proof that I tried, even when they made trying feel impossible. He reaches over and covers my hand with his. His palm is rough and warm, a firefighter's hand, the hand of someone who runs into burning buildings. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't need to. The road straightens out. We drive toward home. Monday morning. I'm standing at my whiteboard writing the day's vocabulary words when my phone rings. Helen Novak. Bethany, do you have a moment? I step into the hallway and close my classroom door. Through the small window, I can see my third-period sophomores starting to settle into their seats. I'll be brief, Helen says. I spent Sunday making some calls. Not about you, but about your brother's Ridgewood Commons project. I've been on the planning commission for 2 years, and that development has been on our radar for a while. I lean against the hallway wall. The linoleum squeaks under my shoe. Helen, I'm not asking you to do anything against Tyler. I know you're not. And I'm not doing this for you or against him. Her voice is precise, the way it probably sounded in 100 superintendent meetings. I'm doing it because it's my job. His permit applications have inconsistencies, funding sources that don't match his filings. We've referred the matter for formal review. The commission was going to act regardless, but after Saturday night, I decided I wasn't going to sit on it any longer. I close my eyes. Saturday night, when my parents called me a freeloader and my brother pitched a failing development like a victory lap. What happens now? The zoning review could take weeks or months, but the permits are frozen in the meantime. Your brother can't break ground, can't take new deposits, and can't close on construction loans until the review clears. I let that settle. $180,000 of my parents' dollars. Frozen. Thank you for telling me, Helen. You're a good teacher, Bethany. Don't let this weekend steal that from you. I hang up and walk back into my classroom. 30 faces look up at me. I pick up the dry erase marker and keep teaching. So now my parents' phone is probably lighting up with the same calls mine is. Tyler's project is under formal review. And I'm standing at my whiteboard, teaching vocabulary to 30 10th graders, holding everything together the way I always have, quietly. Here's what I keep thinking about. That letter. The one I wrote that said, I hope you're proud. The one my mom never wanted to read. Have you ever given someone everything you had, only to have them throw it back in your face? Because right now, I'm finding out what happens when you stop giving. Tell me your story in the comments. And stay with me, because the calls from my parents are about to start. 2 weeks later, the news breaks in the Ridgemont Gazette. The Planning Commission has denied the permit renewal for Ridgewood Commons. Tyler's filings showed a gap between reported funding sources and actual committed capital. The project is frozen indefinitely. I find out the same way everyone else does, from the newspaper. I'm eating cereal at 6 a.m. when Marcus drops the Gazette on the kitchen table and taps the headline with his index finger. Ridgewood Commons permit denied. Developer faces financial review. I set down my spoon. My phone rings an hour later. Tyler, the first time he's called me in years for a reason other than mockery. Beth, his voice is tight, wound like a spring. I need you to talk to Helen Novak. You know her. You can fix this. I'm not your lobbyist, Tyler. I'm a teacher, remember? This isn't funny. Mom and Dad's money is in this project. Their retirement, all of it. I know. I let that word sit. That's exactly why I'm angry. Silence. I can hear him breathing, fast, shallow, the sound of a man who just ran out of people to charm. Tyler, I didn't do this. The commission made its own decision based on your own filings. If you want to fix it, hire a lawyer and fix your paperwork. Beth. And for what it's worth, I tried to warn them. I tried for years. But nobody in this family wanted to hear from the daughter with the cheap gift. He hangs up without apologizing. I don't expect him to. Apologies require the kind of self-awareness Tyler has spent his entire career avoiding. Marcus refills my coffee without being asked. You okay? Not yet, but I'm getting there. I drink my coffee. I grade my papers. And I wait for the next call, because I know exactly who it's going to be. Mom calls that evening. I'm sitting on the back porch with Marcus, watching the fireflies come out. My phone lights up, and I stare at the screen for 3 full rings before answering. Bethany? She's crying. Not the polished, napkin-dabbing tears she performed at the party. These are real. Ugly. Desperate. Your father's retirement, Tyler's project, the money is all frozen. We can't access any of it. I know, Mom. Please. You know Helen. Can you talk to her? Can you help us? I close my eyes. The fireflies drift across the yard in lazy spirals, unbothered by any of this. Mom, do you remember what you called me at the party? In front of 40 people? Silence. You called me a freeloader. You said I couldn't survive on my own. You said my gift was cheap. You pushed it off the table without even looking. I didn't mean it. You know I didn't mean. You said it in front of every person you care about. You meant every word. She's sobbing now. Hard, ragged sobs that make me grip the phone tighter than I want to. Dad takes over. His voice is lower, slower, stripped of the authority he usually wears like armor. Beth, your mother and I, we made mistakes. I feel something crack inside my chest. Not break, crack, the way a frozen lake cracks in March. Painful, necessary, and long overdue. Dad, I love you. I do. But love doesn't mean I have to accept being humiliated in front of your friends. It doesn't mean I have to fix what Tyler broke. I breathe. I need time. How much time? I don't know. But I'll let you know when I'm ready. He's quiet for a long moment. We understand. I hang up. The fireflies keep drifting. Marcus puts his arm around me. In a small town, stories don't stay in backyards. They travel through church pews and checkout lines and Friday night football bleachers until everyone within a 30-mile radius has their own version. By the following week, what happened at my parents' anniversary party is the talk of Ridgemont. I don't tell anyone. I don't have to. 40 witnesses with phones and opinions took care of that. The first card arrives on Wednesday. A parent named Deborah Grant, whose son I taught sophomore English 3 years ago. The note is handwritten. My son told me you were the reason he stayed in school. Your parents don't know what they have. Congratulations on the award. More come. Emails. A bouquet from the English department. A text from a former student now at Ohio State. Saw the article about your award. You changed my life, Ms. Lowe. For real. And then the Ridgemont Gazette runs a longer feature. I didn't give them an interview. They got the story from guests at the party. The headline makes me set down my coffee. Local educator honored with national award amid family controversy. My phone rings before I finish reading. Mom. They wrote about us. Her voice is shaking, but this time it's not sadness. It's mortification. This is humiliating. Our neighbors are reading this. I stare at the headline. I think about 40 faces watching my mother push a silver box across a table. Now you know how it feels, Mom. She hangs up. I don't call back. That afternoon, Principal Davies stops me in the hallway. Bethany, the superintendent's office called. Your milk-in ceremony is set for next month at the State House. They'd like you to give a 5-minute speech. She smiles. I told them you'd be wonderful. I lean against the hallway wall and breathe. 1 month after the party. I sit at my kitchen table, the same table where I wrapped the silver box, and write an email to my parents. Not a text, not a phone call. An email, because some things need to exist in writing where they can't be misquoted or twisted or forgotten. Dear Mom and Dad, I love you both. I want you to know that hasn't changed. But I will not return to a relationship where my career, my accomplishments, and my dignity are treated as punchlines. Before I'm willing to visit again, 3 things need to happen. First, a genuine apology. Not in private, but in whatever form acknowledges that what happened at your anniversary party was wrong. To me and to Marcus. Second, Tyler needs to take full financial responsibility for the retirement money he borrowed. That's between you and him, but I won't pretend it isn't happening. Third, no one in this family uses my profession as an insult. Not at dinner, not at parties, not ever. I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting myself. There's a difference. Love, Bethany. I read it 3 times, change 1 comma, and press send. Dad replies the next morning. 2 sentences. We understand. We're sorry. Mom doesn't reply at all. Tyler doesn't contact me. I don't expect him to. I walk to the bookshelf in the hallway and pick up the letter. The one I wrote for the silver box. The one I tucked into the glove compartment on the drive home. I'd moved it inside when we got back, placed it on the shelf where I keep my classroom photos. I hold it for a moment. I hope you're proud. Maybe one day I'll send it. But right now, it belongs to me. Proof that I tried. Proof that trying wasn't wasted, even when it wasn't received. I set it back on the shelf and turn off the light. Monday morning, 6:45. The parking lot is empty except for mine and the custodian's cars. I unlock my classroom, flip the lights, and set my bag on the desk. The whiteboard still has a message from Friday. Not mine. Written in blue marker, in the jagged, earnest handwriting of a 16-year-old. Best teacher ever. Thanks, Ms. L. I smile. I pick up the eraser, hold it against the words for a second, then wipe the board clean. A new week deserves a blank slate. I uncap a fresh marker and write the day's agenda. Act 3 of To Kill a Mockingbird. Vocabulary quiz. Peer review workshop. The ordinary architecture of a day that matters to 30 people, even if it doesn't make headlines. My phone buzzes. Marcus. Proud of you. Always. I type back. I know. The first bell won't ring for another 40 minutes. I stand at the window and look out at the football field, the track, the oak trees along the property line turning green. The sun is just clearing the roof of the gymnasium, throwing long shadows across the dew. My parents wanted a daughter who made millions. Instead, they got one who made a difference. For 11 years, I thought that was a failure. I know better now. 200 kids walk through my door every year. They come in uncertain, half-formed, carrying questions they don't know how to ask yet. And I give them tools, not money, not status. Tools, language, critical thinking, the knowledge that someone in this building believes they are worth the effort. That's not a small thing. That's a legacy. And if my family can't see it, if they never could, then I'll build a table where the people who do see it can sit down. The door opens. My first student walks in. Morning, Ms. Lowe. Morning, Jordan. Grab a seat. We've got work to do. So that's my story. I walked into my parents' backyard holding the biggest achievement of my life, and they pushed it aside and told me to leave. They called me a freeloader. They said my gift was cheap. They didn't even open the box. But I didn't leave broken. I left whole. My parents are still figuring out what their retirement looks like now. Tyler hasn't called. And me, I'm still teaching, still grading papers at midnight, still buying supplies with my own paycheck, and I wouldn't trade a single day of it. Now I want to hear from you. Would you have opened that box in front of everyone, or would you have walked away without saying a word? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And if this story hit you the way it hit me living it, check out the video in the description. I think you'll relate. Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next one.